Welcome to my channel, USA Battle Zone. Today, I want to tell you a story that will touch your heart, stir your soul, and remind you that courage doesn't fade with age, it only grows stronger. This is the story of a 90-year-old war veteran named Evelyn Parker, a woman whose bravery once saved lives on the battlefield, and whose strength would soon save her again, in a very different kind of fight. The sun hung low over the quiet town of Ashford, its golden rays spilling across cracked sidewalks and dusty roads. Evelyn sat on her porch, wrapped in her old army blanket, sipping tea from a chipped mug. The American flag fluttered gently beside her, faded but proud just like her. Every morning, Evelyn would hum the same tune, a marching song she learned during World War II. Neighbors would wave as they passed, offering a smile or a salute. Everyone in town knew her. Everyone respected her. Everyone, that is, except a group of bikers who had recently started gathering outside her house. They called themselves the Iron Vultures, a rough gang that roared through town every weekend, drinking, shouting, and revving their engines until the streets trembled. At first, Evelyn ignored them. After all, she had faced tanks and air raids. What were a few loud motorcycles to her? But one day, the line was crossed. It was a Saturday afternoon. The air was warm and heavy. Evelyn had just placed flowers at the foot of her late husband's picture, a fellow veteran who never made it home. She whispered her daily promise, "I'll keep fighting, Frank. Just like we always did." Suddenly, the roar of engines shattered the peace. The Iron Vultures had arrived again, louder than ever. They parked right in front of her yard, laughing, cursing, and throwing beer cans onto her grass. Evelyn stood up, her frail body straightening like a soldier called to attention. "Excuse me, boys," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Could you please move along? This is a quiet neighborhood." The tallest biker, a man with a skull tattoo on his neck, turned toward her. His name was Duke. He smirked. Well, look who's talking. The old army granny. You gonna order us around like you did your soldiers?" The others laughed cruelly. One of them kicked over her garden gnome. Another crushed the flowers beneath his boot. Evelyn's hand trembled as she clutched her cane. "I fought for this country," she said softly. "So people like you could live free. But not free to bully others." "Yeah," Duke spat on the ground. "Then maybe it's time someone showed you how times have changed." That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. The sound of their laughter echoed in her mind. Her heart ached. Not from fear, but from disappointment. She had believed that respect for service, for sacrifice, still meant something. She looked over at the phone on her table. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she reached for it and made a call she hadn't made in decades. "Hello," a deep voice answered. "Tommy," she said, her voice shaking. "It's Sergeant Parker." There was silence for a moment. Then, a shocked reply. "Sergeant Parker. Ma'am, is that really you?" "Yes, soldier, and I need your help." The next morning, the bikers came back. But this time, Evelyn was waiting for them. She sat calmly on her porch, her cane resting beside her. "Back again?" she asked as they parked. "Guess we like the view," Duke sneered. Just then, the rumble of engines filled the street again, but these were different. Smoother, heavier, powerful. One by one, hundreds of motorcycles appeared around the corner, forming a wall of chrome and thunder. Their riders wore leather jackets, but these weren't Iron Vultures. They were veterans, men and women, old and young, bearing patches that read Patriot Riders. Rolling Thunder, Veterans Brotherhood. Tommy, now in his 60s, stepped off his bike, a proud American flag patch on his chest. "Ma'am," he said with a salute, "you called in the cavalry." Evelyn smiled. "Good to see you again, Corporal." The Iron Vultures looked around, confused and suddenly very small. "What is this?" Duke growled. "This," Tommy said, stepping closer, "is what happens when you mess with one of our own." The street fell silent except for the soft flapping of flags. Evelyn stood slowly and walked up to Duke, looking him straight in the eye. "When I was your age," she said, "I watched my friends die so you could grow up free. Don't you dare waste that freedom by hurting others. You think you're tough? Try holding a dying friend's hand on a battlefield. That's tough." Duke's jaw tightened. He looked at her, then at the dozens of veterans surrounding him. He muttered something under his breath and turned to leave. "Wait," Evelyn said. "Pick up my flowers." He froze, then slowly bent down and picked them up from the dirt. She took them back gently, nodding once. The iron vultures revved their engines and sped off, their noise fading into the distance, replaced by the steady beat of veteran engines idling in unison, like the heartbeat of a nation that still remembered its heroes. After that day, everything changed. The street that had once echoed with the sound of bullies now rang with laughter and friendship. The veterans came by often to check on Evelyn, bringing groceries, fixing her fence, and sharing stories late into the night. Evelyn's porch became their meeting spot, a sacred place where generations of soldiers gathered to talk about life, loss, and loyalty. One evening, Tommy asked, "Ma'am, why didn't you call us sooner?" Evelyn smiled, gazing at the sunset. "Because sometimes, people need to be reminded that even when we're old and gray, we still stand our ground. But I didn't just call you for me. I called you so those boys could see what honor really looks like." Weeks later, a letter arrived in Evelyn's mailbox. It was from Duke. He wrote, "Greater than, ma'am, I wanted to say I'm sorry. I didn't know who you were or what you'd been through. My granddad was a soldier too, and I think I lost sight of what that meant. I left the gang. I'm trying to do better. Thank you for reminding me what real strength is." Evelyn folded the letter with trembling hands and placed it beside her husband's photo. "You see that, Frank?" she whispered, "still changing hearts, even now." Months passed. Seasons changed, and on the day Evelyn turned 91, the Patriot Riders surprised her with something special. They gathered on her street again, but this time, there was music, laughter, and flags flying high. They presented her with a plaque that read, "For bravery on and off the battlefield, Sergeant Evelyn Parker, a true American hero." Tears filled her eyes as she looked around at the faces smiling back at her, young soldiers, old comrades, and even Duke, standing quietly in the back, holding a single white rose. Evelyn raised her cane like a commander raising her sword. "To all who serve," she said, "and to all who remember." The crowd erupted in applause. Engines roared, not in defiance, but in celebration. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Evelyn sat back in her chair, watching the flags flutter against the evening sky. Her heart swelled with pride, not for what she had done, but for what she had inspired. Because sometimes, the bravest thing you can do, is remind the world what courage looks like.